Hey guys. Okay, I am so pumped about tonight, but I am not going to do a long drawn out introduction because we have about 30 minutes with our special guest and there's a special night of hockey tonight and we're going to let her watch some of that. And so she is sharing her night with us, you guys, and I want you to blow up the chat. I want you to we do like zeros when that means fire. That means she is speaking to you. So if you see a bunch of zeros in the chat, that's what that means. But I want to see you guys interactive in the chat, taking notes, cameras on if you can at all possible. Chantel, I'm going to go ahead and have you unmute if you don't mind. And let's just dive right into your story if you don't mind.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I always feel like it's such an honor to speak to other teams, and it's kind of you never know what to expect, but I always think it's so important to hear from other people because sometimes it's just that one little thing that you hear all the time, but you aren't listening to it, but somebody else does it, and I hope I can do that for you guys tonight. But I'm Chantal. I'm 33, almost 34 in about 5 days, and I live out in Las Vegas, and I got started with this business about, I'm actually going to put this to gallery view because I want to be able to see all your faces. I got started about 5 years ago, to be 5 years in July. And that was not my first time. It was actually my second go around. The first time I started was about 7 years ago. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know I was supposed to ask questions. I just kind of jumped in and then I was like, hey, now what? But I didn't actually ask that. I just was like, let's see what happens. And I just kind of, it fiddled out and I kept watching people and I was intrigued. I had my son, and he was about, I don't know, 6 months or 7 months old. And I was about 7 months pregnant when I got a message from a friend who asked me, she's like, I know you've done this before, but have you thought about doing it again? And I was like, actually, I have, but I am 7 months pregnant and I am not really wanting to do it right now. Tip to anyone who knows a pregnant person or is pregnant, or well, you guys are already here, but if you know somebody who's pregnant, let them know about a girl named Chantel who is telling them, don't wait, just join when you're 7 months and don't feel like it anyways, because I would be 2 months ahead. And so I did wait though. I got started when my daughter was 7 weeks old. I had two under two. And the reason I joined was because I didn't want to miss my daughter's first. I had already been home with my son for his first year, and there was just not a chance. I just could not imagine missing that. But we were living in a rental, and my husband was working full time. He was also picking up side gigs, and we were just making ends meet. And so with the new baby, it was going to be more diapers, more food, more everything. And we didn't have a backyard, and it was just not what I wanted. It was kind of what I thought was going to happen. It was just going to be one of those, well, you just kind of always rent your whole life and that's what it is. But it was not what I wanted for my kids. After I became a mom, it was something about those kids that I was like, I need to give them the world. And so I got started and I was like, okay, if anything, I'll start taking the products. I'll lose a bunch of weight and I'll get a pool job out here. But once I got started, it was almost like my head was different. It was like, okay, there is that option, but hold on a second. I'm not doing this to see if it works. I'm doing this because it is going to work. And it has to work. It wasn't about maybe it'll work. It was a must. It was no chance I was going back. So when I did get started, I was doing all the things. I was on every single Zoom. I wanted to learn everything. I was asking all the questions, and a few little things in there. I was asking the questions, but I want to talk to the ones who kind of ask questions that you should just find yourself. Because I remember asking my upline, hey, how much is the cleanse? And she asked me, is your e-suite broken? And I was like, oh, that's where I find it. Okay. Okay. And from then on, I always asked myself, can I find the answer first? And what that did for me was it led me through a lot of other things that I was going to be able to answer myself along the way to finding that answer. And let's see, I remember, I'll never forget the first time I felt the urgency to go, oh, I was supposed to do that today. I'll just do it tomorrow. And immediately I caught myself and I was like, oh, no, no, no. Chantel, you have committed. Like, this is not just going to be a always next day thing, always next day, because we really all know either it never gets done or it gets so piled up with all the things that that mountain of things to do looks so daunting and you just avoid doing it altogether. And that's when things kind of get overwhelming. And a lot of times in this business, when things get like that, it's because we've procrastinated and kind of pushed things off. And so to avoid that, just do things when you need to and not when you feel like. And I'm going to touch on a little bit of that at the end, but fast forward into it was 7 months into my business. I had just gone to conference. And if you haven't gotten your conference ticket, you guys, I'm telling you something about conference, even if it's virtual, is very, very important. It's not something, and you'll probably hear people say this when they're talking about conference, they're like trying to find words, but they're like, it's just, you get just, because you can't explain it. And there's so many stories, and that's one of the biggest things for me is the stories and the people who go. And so you make up the community, and the community to me is super important, even if it is virtual. So make sure you get to conference and get that ticket because there's perks. But I went diamond after 7 months, and then the next month I hit double, and then I sat at double for 3 years, and I promoted to triple last year in April. And it was a long 3 years. And I remember saying to my husband, I was like, dang, good job. I was like, I didn't quit 2 years till triple. And I was like, wait a second, there was 3 years. Oh my, really good job, Chantel. Like, way to stick through it. And so just never give yourself a timeline, because you just never know what's going to happen. And I know that when I first hit Ruby, to anybody who hasn't hit Ruby yet, take that promotion so, like, celebrate so hard and congratulate yourself, like really feel it. Because I remember when I felt it, when I hit Ruby, I cried, and I knew, I was like, oh my gosh, this means I can go to Emerald. This is crazy. Like, it's a really, really big milestone, I think, in your business. So never look at Ruby and go, it's Ruby, I want diamond. Just start with Ruby and really appreciate the fact that you get there. And so now we're about a year after I promoted to Ruby, or to Ruby to triple. We've built our home over the years. You know, we built this home about 3 years ago, and now we're actually thinking of moving again, because we moved from the rental for this backyard, which we love. I am absolutely obsessed with it, but we also are like, okay, we need more outside, more weather. Vegas is hot and there's not much to do out here. And so now we're looking into moving to the Carolinas and maybe building on land, or buying a house that we can just make even more memories in. And I just, it's something interesting about this business is that you really can look at this in a few different ways. You can kind of do that, maybe this will work. And then you can go, okay, I'm going to do this for this other thing, right? And maybe it's for bills or gas money, and maybe it's to get your kids some school clothes, or maybe it's for a vacation, whatever it's for. I want to encourage you guys to learn right away how to dream bigger, because that's what ends up happening when you put your all into this, is that you will get to those first goals, but you're going to have to be ready to get to the next ones. And I say to be ready to dream bigger, because sometimes when you reach a goal, you're like, okay, that's it. And you can become kind of complacent and comfortable. And so when you don't have something that you're going for, that's the problem. That's a big problem, because then you stop, and you don't want to stop. You want to keep on going and keep on pushing and fighting. And I had that realization probably about 6 months ago. I was like, wait a second, like, what do I want again? Like, what's the next thing? And I started talking to my husband, and talk with somebody about your dreams, like tell somebody about them and get excited and get into detail. Like, what color is it? What does it smell like? What does it look like? How do you feel? Like, I was like, okay, we need a boat. We need land. We need thunderstorms. We need all the things. Like, I know it's so silly, but all these little things that you are just like, I need this stuff. And what, yes, are we happy? Absolutely. But I do need to learn to dream bigger, because if not, then this is what we will have. And I'm not to say I'm ungrateful, but this is all we will have. We will not be able to give our kids more. We don't have a savings account for them in college yet. For college, we want that. So, if you don't dream bigger, you're going to kind of just get settled, and that's just not a good place to be. So that is just a little bit about me. Do you want to?
I love it. So you're not alone. It took me 3 years to go presidential after going triple. It took me another 3 years to go ambassador. So I feel you. And I never looked at it that way, though, of like, good for me. Like, other people would have quit when it took them 2 months to get Ruby. Like, I sat at a rank for 3 years. So good for you, and good for me, and good for everyone on the team. Let's just drop some ones in the chat. If you've been sitting at your rank a little bit longer than maybe you would prefer, And then something else I shared in that chat, you guys, is like she said, like if you stop dreaming and you stop pushing for that next thing, you hold your team back. You hold your team back. If you're not dreaming, they're not dreaming. And you work differently when your dream is important to you. And you push your team harder when your dream is important to you. So some of you guys probably need to redream, like she said. Okay, so I know I asked you a couple of things, like what are your things that fire you up? So I want to go through a few of those things. First thing being steps to success. And I know we probably have some newer people on here. So if you want to give like a very basic what it is, and then maybe whatever you want to share along those lines, but like how you get that done personally too.
Okay, so I actually printed a blank one for you guys, just so that in case anybody is new and you're not sure what this is, and maybe you're visual, I want you to be able to see it. And then I'm just really quickly, it's very simple, so it's very simple to explain. This is a sheet, and if you guys don't have this, it's on the road to VIP, but it is to keep track. And I think it's great to have paper. So I know a lot of people are digital, but something about writing things down, I learned this early on, and seeing your progress through the month is super important. So each month you would print one of these, and your goal every month is to get 6 loyal customers, and you write their names down up here, and to enroll 3 distributors and teach them how to get their 6 customers. And so you can use that sheet to keep track of your progress through the month. And the reason that steps to success is important is because when you're going to any kind of job or you're starting any kind of business, you need to know what you're supposed to do. You just need to have some sort of direction. And so if you don't have any direction, for example, even just like with host posts, if you're like, I don't know how many host posts I'm gonna get up today, maybe some, maybe I don't know how many though, and you don't have a set goal, then you don't even know where you're like, I don't even know what I'm trying to hit. You have no goal. So this is a really basic, simple goal that you can set for yourself. It's 100% doable for everybody, anybody and everybody. And if you're struggling to get your steps to success done, and maybe it's you're filling up your customers, but you're like, I don't know about these distributors, or it's vice versa, make sure that you're talking to somebody about that and saying, you know, I'm real good on this, but I'm kind of struggling over here, because figuring out how to balance that is super important. And it's good to have those 3 distributors for sure, and those 6 customers. And I'm not saying that you have to make sure all 3 get their 6 in a single month, but that's your goal too, is to not only learn how to get your 6 and learn how to get your 3, but to teach those 3 how to do that same thing. And our steps to success, we call it our roadmap to success, because if you just duplicate that over and over every month, then 3 months in, you're going to have 9 people on your team. And that's, I mean, that's almost boxed for emerald. And now when I say that, you want to make sure again that you're teaching the people who you're bringing in how to get their customers, how to do their steps to success. And the reason is because you don't want to just have a whole bunch of people just on your team that don't know what they're doing or don't know how to enroll. You want to continue to teach that. So once you master the steps to success, it's going to change your business, because you're just going to know how to teach people. So make sure you're doing that and you're really learning how to 100% complete it. I have always liked to print a couple of them. You can print like 10 at a time, but I'll fill one out all the way out, and then I'm like, okay, let's do another one. And I'll try to like push myself to complete multiple pages throughout the month. And that's kind of fun, because you're able to kind of see, okay, like you set a goal and you're like, okay, the max I've done is 2. And then later on, you're like, okay, I got to break that. I'm going to get 3 done. And you just start setting those things for yourself. And it's just a challenge, fun challenge. But something that I think that makes it easy to keep that balance and finding both loyal customers and distributors is obviously using host to post is the biggest way to get everything. But if you're not talking to every person about both of the options, then you're totally cutting yourself short. You're cutting your customers short. You're cutting the distributor short of adding stuff to their order when they become a distributor. And so when you're talking to people, I think that there's a few different ways to say any message. So I'm just going to kind of give you the gist of a message. Whenever people ask me how much does the cleanse, for example, cost, and they want to purchase it, I let them know, well, we have a few different ways that you can order. You can order retail and it's this much, or you can order as a loyal customer, and that to waive our $50 membership, you would order for 3 months, or you can join as a distributor. You can get the discount and you can actually make some money on the side. Which option works for you? And that opens the door for all of them, all 3 doors for them. Now they have a choice. And I have had people become a customer, but then a few weeks later, they message me back and they're like, can I still do the distributor part of it? Because they know about it and because they know that they can actually do it. And a lot of times they're like talking to their friends about products they're using, right? And how many times do you get people saying, hey, I think my friend's interested? Well, the last girl that did this, she was like, I didn't even tell her, but she's like, gave a bunch of my coffee samples out over the weekend. And she's like, and I have a friend who wants to use the products I'm using. So I think I am going to become a distributor, because it's in their head. They're going, oh, somebody else wants to use this. Like, and now you're getting them to start doing things naturally without even training them, where they're talking about the products already because they're using them and they know, hey, I wonder if anybody is interested. It's a subconscious thing that they'll do. So make sure you're offering all of those options, because then really it's just a matter of how many people are you going to talk to. And when, there was a Zoom once that I heard this on, and I've loved it. It was years ago. And a lot of people ask, how many people do you talk to? And my answer for you, from the person, whoever that genius was that gave this to me, however many it takes, that's how many. And whatever that looks like for you, if this isn't filled out by the end of the month, then that wasn't enough. So you just want to make sure it is whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to get this done is what you have to do. I think that was everything on steps. I think
that is so good. I've always said to mention the business opportunity, because I think people also use the products more consistently once they order, because they're like, well, maybe if I do see results. And we have a lot of customers upgrade, but never have I mentioned the pricing like that. Like, why not? Why don't I just mention that in the initial message rather than they're about to check out? Because that's when I normally do it, is like, by the way, they're already in like the mode of their shopping. So, so smart, so good. Okay, so we are going to move into duplication, because obviously this plays right along with steps of success. Like you said, if you do this for 3 months in a row, you have 9 distributors, and that's only if you're the only one doing steps of success. So if your team, I don't know if that cut out for a second, sorry. But if you're not the only one doing the steps, if you're turning around and you're teaching those 3 distributors to get their 3, you guys, that is where the snowball starts rolling. And that's where it gets bigger than you could have ever done all on your own. So I want you to talk about duplication. I know it's something that's big to you, what it looks like maybe for your team, some tips for creating it, and why it's so important.
Yeah, duplication is everything with this. And the smartest way to work your business is by doing something that is duplicatable. And so, when we look at certain things that we're doing in our business, like posting or doing host to post, those things and stories, any of that stuff is very duplicatable. It's not anything that anybody can't do. Even TikTok, you guys, I know that I've kind of challenged myself with saying it's not duplicatable, but I mean, we all can do this. That's totally duplicatable. And honestly, that's all that is. So everything that works, the girls and guys who are making a lot of money, the ambassadors and the presidentials and the black diamonds, those people have just done things that work. Okay. It's all the stuff that works. They tried things and then they stopped doing whatever doesn't work. And so what I remember when I first started was, I need to know what they're doing and I'm going to do that. And everything they were doing was duplicatable. And so I knew if I learned it, then I could teach it to somebody else. And when you look at, I always like to show people a diamond chart, and that's kind of what she was talking about. That 9 distributors is only if you, like 9 in 3 months is only if you are doing this. But if you do this every month, I'm bad at math and I didn't prepare for this, but this is 3 for you, 6, 9, 12. Okay, that's 12 within about your first 2 months, right? Just right there. And then guess what? These 3 have 3 more under them. So, because you've taught them how to get their steps done, right? So you got 3, 6, 9, 12. I don't know. Someone do the math. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's really, what is it?
So many, I don't know. So many. It's more than you can count. It's what you mean.
Yes. And it continues to grow. And when you look at a diamond chart, you guys, it's 3 rubies essentially. And so duplication and kind of finding out what's working and avoiding doing things that don't work is really important to me. I think that am absolutely guilty in the past and even sometimes now of trying to figure out a simpler or easier way or better way to explain something or a better thing. I mean, I am the queen of taking way too much interest in apps. I love to figure out good stuff. I have found some good ones, but I also catch myself on not reinventing the wheel because we know what's working. We know the basics. It's always to the basics. And now we added host to post, but it's posting, it's messaging, and it's just having those communications, having that consistency. All of that is duplicatable if you want to duplicate it, if you want to be successful. Everyone who's at the top duplicates. Everyone does things that that are duplicatable. Everyone does the basics. And that's where it becomes like, you don't have to overcomplicate it. You don't have to, find all these problems. It's almost like sometimes we like search for a problem because we're trying to figure out a solution and we're so determined to figure out some sort of solution. So like, well, let me find a problem, but you don't have to have any problems with how to work your business. We know it's working. And so keep it simple, because the more confusing you make it, the harder it is to explain to people. And that makes it like your team's just gonna be like, yeah, I'm out. I don't even know. But like everything that we do is so simple. So if you keep it that way, it's going to be simple for you to explain. It's going to be simple for them to learn, and it's going to be simple for them to teach somebody else the same thing. And let's see, I'm like dying to talk about layered leadership too, because I have a hard hold on that one. It's so important to me, and I definitely want to talk to you guys about that.
We can totally dive into that. But something you said totally resonated with me. And I think a lot of people do this. We have like an off day or even an off week of like, we're talking to all the people and like literally all the excuses. I felt like I had that for 2 weeks last month, but like people's pets were dying and like just random stuff like all over the place. And I'm like, these people, like I need to seal the deal. And I start questioning my messaging, right? Do you guys ever do that? Like you use the same message over and over and then like it stops working for a couple days and you're like, I need to change my message. Like that one's clearly not working anymore. Like, and then you ask 12 people, like, what message you use when you explain the cleanse pricing. And we do that and we waste so much time trying to figure out a message that the one that we have is just fine. We just have to talk to more people. And I think I'm guilty of that. And you guys, 10 years in, I still do stuff like that. So catch it when you're doing that. If you've ever signed a customer with the cleanse message you have, you're probably fine. You probably just need to talk to more people. So do not try to reinvent the wheel. You guys, the business has never been more simple than it is right here, right now with Host to Post and the Boards app. Like literally those two things have made this business more duplicatable than anything that I ever had in the first 8 years of my business. So you just have to embrace it and you have to be willing to put in the work. So I love that. Let's talk about layered leadership because I know we have some people that are really excited, including myself, to hear what you've got to share.
Yes. Okay. So layered leadership is something that's really important to me because I think that the feeling of getting to see people who become part of your team get success in their life and reach goals and things. It's just something that I remember the first couple texts that I was getting, and I was like, holy cow, like I am really like this, their life change. You're all gonna get, if you haven't yet, that text from somebody where they're like, thank you so much for this business. And when you start to get more of those people, you start to have a bigger team. And with that comes new leaders that start to come up in your team, and you're starting to kind of go, okay, now you're a leader over here and you're a leader over here, and you might hit a block where you're like, uh-oh, there's a lot of people here and I don't have as much time to talk to all of them. I want to, but if I do, I'm not gonna be able to do my business. I'm not gonna be able to do my host to posts. And so even if you're like a little later and maybe you're diamond or double, don't worry. Like I realized this probably around right after double, where I was like, okay, I really have to start actually like training the leaders. And layered leadership is essentially where let's say you have a team and you're a diamond, we'll just use that, and you've got an emerald, and the emerald has 2 rubies, and then you've got another ruby at the very least. And you want to start going, okay, emerald, ruby, you guys your next promotion is emerald and diamond. So like, let's start doing those things. And what I look at is, if I'm a diamond, I want to make sure that my communication is going to be with all of the emeralds and all of the rubies majority of my time. I'm going to absolutely always touch all of my team, but I want that communication. And the reason is because they need to learn how to lead at diamond level, okay? And they need to learn how to teach their emeralds and rubies once they get to diamond, how to lead their team. If you aren't stepping into that leadership role because you're nervous, it makes it really hard for us. And it will make it so much easier on you if you get uncomfortable and start doing the things that you need to do to become that leader. I always talk about people asking for a rank. They ask for, I want to be diamond or I want to be double. And they just want that. And I think about it all the time. I'm like, how many, I didn't even think this. So if you're not there yet, here's your moment, because I never thought at Ruby about what responsibilities there were at diamond. I had no idea. But once I got there, I was like, okay, this is a lot. And now I'm triple and I'm like, aha, ambassadors, you got a lot going on. Like there's a lot. But if you start to implement layered leadership, what happens is you have a team of leaders that are a part of your team that are also leading with you. And you can't get anywhere in this business alone, okay? Like it comes, people have to come with you. And it doesn't matter how long or slow it takes. My husband heard a quote out when he lived in Africa. He said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And that is so true. And the part of the layered leadership sort of system is when your leader is maybe asking you like, hey, do you want to host a Zoom? Or maybe they're not asking you, ask them, can I co-host this Zoom with you? Do you think that I could like come in and help maybe say a few things during the newbie Zoom? If that's not you and you're waiting for somebody to ask you, I am encouraging you to just even ask them if there's a small one. And then for anybody who has upcoming leaders on their team, something that I was given advice on this years back, where they said, what you can do to start implementing leadership within your team is look at your team and like think of the people that are on your team and think about, let's just look at one person right now and think about what their strength is. Is it posting? Is it stories? Is it messaging? Is it loyals? Is it distributors? Is it TikTok? Is it being really involved in the chats and the team page? Whatever those like strengths are, hone in on them. There's going to be a lot of different people for each one. And what you can do is you can set up a Zoom with them and say, hey, I want to interview you for the team because you're really great at this. They're going to know that they're great at it if you let them know. Even if they think they're not, they kind of know. They will kind of know. They're like, yeah, I kind of am decent at posting. Okay. And when you get them to get into that role of like, okay, all eyes are on me, it will start to get them out of that comfort level of like, nobody look at me right now. And that is a very easy, small step for them to build their character, build their, like, I don't know, confidence in being able to speak. And when you're on anyone else's Zoom, another little side note, no matter who it is, especially within your team and your sidelines, and send a little text to somebody after a Zoom and let them know that they've done great, because you just never know if they're nervous and they might need that little boost. And somebody might do it for you, and then somebody might do it for somebody on your team. And so if everybody just kind of does that, then we make sure that everyone really does feel like, okay, I did well. And let's see, when it comes to enrolling new distributors, and when you're like, okay, I've got a new distributor, and you're like, where am I going to place this distributor? There's a lot of factors, obviously, in that. Wherever you're at in your business, it's always a little different. But something I always make sure that I am 100% confident is that the person who I'm placing under is obviously involved. Okay, I don't like to. There's cases where you might like stack, but for the most part, I like to run with the runners. I like to work with people who are working. So that's my number one thing. The other part of it is I will not place somebody under anybody who complains about their team, because I'm not going to trust somebody to complain about my new distributor. I don't want that. I want my distributor to know that they're getting their hands, they're getting touched by somebody who is always going to be grateful for their team, no matter what, no matter whether they're working or not working. And so if you've already complained, it's okay. I think we all kind of have at some point, right? But try not to, and try to be grateful for when you do get placed underneath. And my first distributor, my first was my only distributor ever placed under me until 4 years in or something. And that one distributor, I I think about it sometimes. I'm like, man, I don't know really what it feels like to get placed under after experience, but that first one, I live on the West Coast. She lived over on the East Coast, and I was brand new, and I had a really like little baby, 7 weeks old. I was waking up 3 hours earlier, like it was like 5 o'clock, to check my phone, and I was like, "Does she have any questions? Oh yes, a question." And I'm like, "I have no idea what that is. I have to figure it out." And I would go find out the answer, even though I didn't know it, because it was exciting to me. I got to do this with her. And so when you look at your team as like, maybe I don't know this person, but that's somebody you get to do this with. And that when you're kind of going along and you're promoting, you don't ever want to promote alone. You want to promote with the people. You don't want to just have, oh, Susie promoted to Ruby, but I don't even get to post about it because Susie doesn't even know she promoted. You know what I mean? Like, it's it's building that relationship with people, even if you don't know them, even if you didn't enroll them. And if you are being placed under, you're placing under, just kind of look at different things. Like if you're figuring out, where do I place this person? A few things I like to look at are locations. I like to look at personalities. I like to think about, the color personalities. I like to also go with usually like the guys. Like we have our guys on one part of our team, and they stick together. And it's just, there's so many different ways to, I don't know, look at it. But whether you're placing or you're being placed under, you have to take that as a huge responsibility. And even if you do place, remember, never just drop and go. Just keep your hands on them too, because you always want to continue to be part of your personally enrolled. And just one little side note, layered leadership. Here's the thing too with that. If you are a triple, you're going to be talking to your doubles. And doubles will be talking to their diamonds, and diamonds will be talking to their emeralds. And what that does is it makes it so that none of us have to worry about everyone having somebody there at some point. And that's a really great thing. And I will just say this as a triple with a team who I wish I could talk to every single one of them every single day. I just really do. I mean, it's hard, but I know this is like a weird thing to say. Just give everyone grace, because everyone's kind of trying to always communicate. But if we can all, everybody as a team, build that layered leadership, then we all know that everyone does have someone. And we don't have to go, oh my gosh, like this person, nobody's even talked to her. Because like there's like 4 diamonds between us, but nobody's talked to her. You know what I mean? So just if you start doing that, you start just standing up and leading that team. And whether you've enrolled them or not, or whether they're your personally enrolled, it doesn't matter. Just start creating that layered leadership, start advocating for yourself, and asking your uplines if you can even just hop in for 5 minutes on a Zoom. If you need help with like, what do I do? Like, what should I talk about? They'll help you. And just get in there, get yourself on some Zooms. Don't wait to be asked, just do it. And then I do have, just like after that, I have a quick little few things to say.
Perfect. I would love for you to share. I was literally like, when you were talking, I was like, you know what? There's a couple co-sponsor chats I have not created. And I'm like, I need to do that now, because sometimes I don't want to add something to someone's plate or whatever. But then I was reminded that I'm like, that's how we empower people. And that's how you find who has leadership skills in your team. And if you don't ever let them like test out the waters of that, regardless of whether that person you placed works or not, if you don't give them that responsibility, they'll never know, and you'll never know if it's someone that you can run with. So I love that. Yes, if you want to share 2 things, I have 2 things that I would request. You said that you have a lot of apps that you like. I want to know what a couple of those are, just like briefly. And then I would love for you to leave our team with just, if this was your team and like something that you really feel like they just need to hear right now. And it's okay if it's like a tough love or encouragement or whatever season your team is in right now. But I just know that whatever your team probably needs to hear, so does ours. So whatever you've got for us to close out, and then you can go watch your game.
Yay. Okay. So for the apps, I know a lot of, here's the thing, don't buy apps if you can't buy them. We are not here to like get a bunch of subscriptions, but I do love, it's called BezArt. And the reason I like that one is for graphics. It's BAZAART. And that one I like because you can literally pull in a picture like of you, and you can click this little thing that just says magic, and it erases the whole background immediately, just in one click. And it's really great for stories, to use for story slides and things. I use it for everything, and it's just a very easy app. If you don't want to pay for it, you can also, I like Canva, I like Over for some things. And obviously Word Swag was where we all started, but it's still not, you know, it's still a good one too. BezArt is one of them that I really like. And then there's a new one that's called Magisto, and it's totally, for me, worth it, because I made a really great coffee video, and it was so simple. What you do is, I was just like, I was on Instagram, so I could do it real quick. I just did a few 2-second snippets of me making my coffee here, pouring it in real quick. And then I just added them into this Magisto app, and it literally makes it for you. You don't cut or crop or anything. It just does it. And it's amazing. Very simple time saver. So you're not being so, I don't know, if you're a perfectionist, that can get the best of us. The Magisto one is Magisto. And then, I mean, I know that a lot of people like Pixar, or yes, I will. Oh, there you go. Pixar and those, I love Lightroom, and I would suggest, I mean, don't go crazy on presets, just tinker in there, because you don't have to buy like the $14 preset that you end up not using. Just take it from me. You can just kind of mess with the colors, and you can save your own presets in there to use, and it'll be the same kind of theme for your pictures. But what I want to kind of leave you guys on is something that I always think it's good to talk about what you're struggling with. And it's funny because we can all find ourselves when we can sit there and go, you should do this, and you should do this, and then you're not really like doing it yourself, or you hear somebody say stuff and you're like, okay, yeah, that's me. I needed to hear this. But I think that the most, I don't know, heartfelt words that I can give you tonight are the things that I'm struggling with doing, and that I like to be able to say this out loud so that I can scream it to myself, and that will give you guys the best of what I've got. But you know, it's self-discipline, you guys, is hard, and it's something that isn't where you can't just go to a class or anything for it. You know, it's got to come from within you. And most of the time that self-discipline is not theirs, when we're like, oh, I just don't feel like it, right? We make all these excuses in the world, to the point of, I was talking to a girlfriend last night, and I told her, I was like, I don't want anyone to ask me why I haven't done a TikTok in a little bit, because I don't have a good excuse at all. Anything that I would say, I would feel like I would roll my eyes at myself. And if you can ask yourself something and you're like, or you can say, what do I not want somebody to ask me right now? Like, I don't want somebody to ask me how many host posts I did today. I don't want somebody to ask me how many posts I've made today, or whatever, you know, like, what would scare you? What would make you feel like, oh, don't have a really good answer for that one? Because that's probably something that you need to start working on, and start looking at the excuse of why you're not doing it, and getting to the bottom of it. And what I mean by that is, you can kind of do this in a like weird, you know, when you lose your keys and you start to backtrack your steps, it's kind of like that. So let's just make this simple with one example. You wake up and you don't feel like it, right? I don't feel like it. I don't feel like posting. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like doing a TikTok. I just don't feel like it. Like, drop a 1 if you said I don't feel like it, or felt I don't feel like it. Well, what all here's the, like, it's like a trick almost, but it's not, because it's just obvious. But then you hear it and you're thinking, okay, that's right. When you don't feel like it, do you know what it feels like to feel like it? Ask yourself that. Because if you don't feel like it, well, what does it feel like when you do? What do you feel like when you do feel like it? And you're probably going to have some sort of answer there. Well, I feel rested. I feel like my makeup's done, or I've got clothes on and not pajamas, or I went on a jog this morning, or I've finished like all of my to-do list, whatever those things are that put you in that place of where you will feel like it. That's the stuff that you need to now go back again and go, okay, what did I do today to not get enough rest? What do I need to do to make sure I get that rest? And then you start to hone in on the little things that you can tweak within your day to go, okay, and you start to be conscious about it. You'll start to go, okay, I'm gonna stay up really late. And you're gonna go, oh, but then I'm not gonna feel like it tomorrow because I'm not gonna be rested. You start to kind of pinpoint those little things. And so I'm with you. I'm here so with every single person who can relate to the I don't feel like it and the excuses that we don't even like to hear ourselves say, the ones that we're really embarrassed about. I want to challenge you with me to start to unravel the I don't feel like it and figure out what it is specifically that, and if you have to do this, like literally do it on paper tonight. Go to any of the times where you don't feel like messaging and write why. Like, why don't you feel like messaging? Not why don't you, but what is the feelings, like where are you in your space? Is it that you don't feel like it because of what? And then fix those things, fix the little things that made you feel the way you do right now. And do that on multiple levels, whether it's even if you have to break it up for the mornings, mid and afternoons and night, and messaging and posting or whatever it is, you can do this with everything. And we'll all start to figure out those things. And then when somebody says, why didn't you do a TikTok in the last week? I mean, they won't, because you did, because you fixed the things. Because for me, it's, I'm still in clothes from yesterday and my hair is like all over here and my makeup is like 3 days, whatever it is, I didn't because of that, but that's my fault. And I can confidently say, well, I didn't because I let all the excuses of not getting ready or not getting enough sleep or whatever get in my way. And you start to not just go, I didn't just do it because I didn't, it's because you don't even know why you didn't do it. You literally don't. You're just like, I don't know, I just didn't feel like it. But you haven't asked yourself why you didn't feel like it. And you just let it kind of go. And we do this day in and day out. And it becomes such a trap, such a habit that you don't even recognize it. And speaking of just habits, just to leave you guys on one thing, I know it's early in the month right now and we're on the 11th, but something that I want to make sure you guys hear now, because usually I say this at the end of the month. I talk to people about this around the 25th when all the numbers roll in, and you get to that point and you're like, okay, like I'm not close, or I'm kind of close, or I'm way far. And when you get to the 25th, you guys, and those numbers roll, number one, everything you do from today, which I feel like today and through the 25th, we all kind of look at that time and we're like, got time. But then like tomorrow's the 25th all of a sudden. And we decide, okay, I'm too far this month, so I'm gonna start over on the next month. And I can tell you, I've seen it way too many times. Sometimes when I look at the people that are on my team and I'm like, gosh, it's every month that you're doing this to yourself. If you stop and you think you're too far at the end of this month on the 25th, you're going to think you're too far next month. You're going to think you're too far the next month. But if you can just push yourself and promise yourself that you will push to the end no matter what. You guys, in 2019, I was pushing for triple, and it was a promise. It was like, I was not going to let this go. I was not going to just go, nope, just going to give up on myself. I was so stubborn with what I was going to do. I was going to work until the very last second. And I did. I got a customer at like 9:56 too, but I was 14,000 away and I did not care. I worked like I was 5 away. And that did a number for me the next month. It doesn't matter how far you are. You're far as someone's really what they wish they had what you needed. Like you have 100 to go and you think you're far, somebody wishes that. You have 2,000. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people who wish they only had 2,000. And so don't cut yourself short. Don't cut days out of this month moving forward. You're going to wish you had them at the end of the month. You're going to wish, oh, geez, I wish we had extra days. You guys ever think that? Wish we had a few more days. They're now. And most of us waste them. And the other thing to that is, you guys, you have, how many days are in July? 31, right? 31 days in July. You have 31 days plus however many are left this month, what, 20? You have 51 days of July, if you want to look at it that way, okay? Everything you're doing now is helping next month. So you're cutting yourself short if you're not using every single day to your advantage. Obviously, take your Sabbath, let yourself breathe, step away. But I really just want to encourage you guys to focus on your goal and not necessarily the month end. Like, focus on what why are you doing this? Like, what is the reason that you got started? You can't just, I'm always too far. It's not gonna happen. Maybe next month. Happens so much at the new year. Everyone's like, let's go. And then the new year rolls around again, end of the month. They're like, let's try February. Let's try it again in February. Don't get in that habit. If you're in it, break it this month. Like, break that. Give yourself a chance, because I'll tell you what, the majority of the people who just go, oh, maybe next month, probably would have promoted the month that they said maybe next month. And if they didn't that month, they would have the next month. So I want you guys to just stick through it. She's been through 3 years and 3 years, the 3 years twice. I've been through it the one time, and it's tough. I know, I get it. And it's like, you're like, what is it? What is it that I need to learn? What do I need to do? Why am I not getting there? But whatever it is that is at that next rank, there's a reason it took 3 years for me. And I use a little analogy of, if you have a little tree trunk, right? And you're like a little tree from the nursery, the plant nursery, and you take an oak tree and you chop off the top of the oak tree and you put it on the small brand new trunk, it's gonna fall apart because it's not strong enough yet. It can't hold the weight yet. And so let your journey, whatever that time is, whether it's this month or next year, understand that that is valuable time. You have to use it, and you have to use it wisely. You have to know that it's fine, because something you need to fix, something you need to learn, something you need to grow in. And so never walk away from it, because you're walking away from where you were going to go. It's not about you're just not there yet. It's because you can't hold the weight there yet. You don't have those leadership skills where you're going to get it and keep it. You might be handed it, and like, then what? It just falls through your fingers. You don't even know what it took to earn it. So use this time, fight through the end of this month. Like, we got a lot of time left. So I want to, let's talk about end of the month now. So, don't waste these days. Let these days count. And that's it, I think.
That was so good. You didn't even know it, because I didn't even know you before tonight, really. And you're like my spirit animal in Las Vegas. I'm like, I feel like these are things that we talk about, but you said it in just such a powerful way of like, do not take off at the end of the month. I feel like my internet keeps going off, and it wants me to just leave it with the drums, the bombs that you dropped. So I'm not even going to talk. How about that? I appreciate you so much for being on. I don't know if you're frozen or if it's me. I still see people blinking, so I feel like it might be her. But you guys, drop a lot of fire in the chat. That was so freaking good. And I'm about to text all of you a really uncomfortable question and see if it triggers anything. See if there's anything you don't want to ask me or have me ask you tonight. But truly, that is like such a good thing to think about, you guys. What is the question that you don't want someone to ask you right now about your business? If you answered honestly, what is that thing? And let's fix it. Let's figure out why we feel that way. And let's figure it out tonight so that tomorrow we can start fresh. We can start rested. We can start ready for whatever that struggle might be, you guys. So she was amazing. It looks like maybe she got kicked off, but I know you guys got as much out of that as I did. And I hope you guys are loving these Thursday night Zooms. So good. It was only week 2, and we've got lots of top leaders to come. So thank you guys for jumping on. And I will have this recording up shortly on my YouTube.